Our next stop on this amazing trip brings us to Skagway and the White Pass and Yukon Railroad. I've always considered this narrow gauge train to be one of the signature excursions on any Alaska cruise. And how about this for celebrity service? The train comes right up to your ship. The first couple of miles of the ride seem pretty easy as we pull through town and then start heading to the mountains. Surrounded by snow-covered peaks and rushing waterfalls, the White Pass and Yukon route is a real tribute to the men who seemingly did the impossible. It wasn't just about laying track, it was also about blasting their way to the top. 450 tons of TNT to build 2 tunnels, plus an explosion of other places where the TNT was the only way to eke out enough room on the side of the mountain for the track. Putting it all in perspective is easy. Just look up at the train ahead of us or look down at the train below us to really get a scope of this massive engineering feat.
The summit trains travel just over 20 miles one way from sea level in Skagway up to nearly 3,000 feet at the top of White Pass. A round trip, which is what the majority of our passengers take, is the summit train. So, you get about 40 miles of a train ride. Probably the most dramatic section of the railroad, so that's what people come to see.
And one of the things that's always pointed out by the train's narrator is this now abandoned bridge, which gives some added insight into why this railroad was designated an International Civil Engineering Landmark in 1994. And that's an honor also shared with the Eiffel Tower and the Statue of Liberty. The summit train takes us just past the international border between Alaska and British Columbia. This is where the engines switch ends for the trip back, where there's a lot of waving between trains, and where we met Melissa Goldenhirsch, the flip-flop wearing organizer of this 3-generation trip.
We like it. It was good for the entire family to do. We were traveling with a 1-year-old as well as a 5-year-old, so we needed something a little more not so adventurous for the kids, and it's great. The views are beautiful, and he has his binoculars, so the little one's checking things out, wanting to see a bear. But yeah, the train is great.
The trip back down to Skagway is every bit as beautiful as the ride up. A little bit different perspective too, so there's always something new to see. No question, this is an easy, comfortable excursion that belies the near impossible odds of making the deadly trip to Yukon Gold, and a train built by tens of thousands of men. That's why we stopped into the National Park Service office when we got back to Skagway. Large posters and well-written narratives really help bring the history alive.
Tens of thousands of people who had never been to Alaska came here to try to make it to the gold fields of the Yukon, which were about 500 miles further north. And it was a scene of chaos and pandemonium as they got to what was essentially an unestablished valley and tried to make their journey begin here in what would later become Skagway.
It's easy to see why Skagway is such a popular stop during the summer cruise season. A trip back in history with all the modern conveniences that kind of makes you feel like you've struck vacation gold.